So big applause for Sigrid Kaag. Hi. Hi. Yes, that's okay with you. Um, yeah, we have like 15 minutes, so yeah, I'm going to go right into it. Is, in your view, mental health and psychological care as important in first aid, like safety, shelter, food?
Yeah, I suppose as the Americans would say, it's for me the no-brainer.
A
But it took a
no-brainer.
number of years to get to the point where we could leverage and have a conference. So yes, it's as essential. It's about the whole human being. It's about the person with a soul. And when injured, when afflicted, when suffering trauma, food is important. You need to eat. You need to stay. You get your resources together. But if there's no attention to what people have gone through, have suffered, there's no prospect of proper healing or a journey of recovery.
And how do you think about this idea that when you're kind of still in this survival modus, that you simply have no headspace to already deal, with trauma? That can they go together, like surviving and already dealing with what you've been through?
Well, I think it's the other way around. You cannot get through the day or get ready for the next day if there's no space to talk, to express, to mourn, to cry, to feel the loss, and to be in a space where this is safe, particularly in societies where the stigma of a discussion around mental health is the no-go. Our Syrian refugees spoke, and I think the conference had many survivors of trauma, of loss, speak particularly to that. So if we do not prioritize it, if we do not validate it and say it is as important, we do not empower the survivors to find the time and the moment to speak when they want to. But without support, what's going to happen?
Yeah. And about the support, before you became minister, was he secretary, minister?
Well, depends on which country, but I'm a minister in the Netherlands.
So
yeah.
before you became minister, you worked, of course, in Lebanon as a special coordinator, and I think you also visited, of course, many refugee camps. Did this influence your idea about this need, and did you see it lacking there? And
yes, this for me is a sort of, I would say, a positive obsession. It's something I have thought about, have been annoyed with, irritated by, felt bad about the total absence of systematic inclusion of access to mental health support or psychosocial support. I've seen it with children that have just come out of a conflict, out of bombings. They've been huddled into a school. At best, as I was regional director for UNICEF in the Middle East, North Africa, we would be able to provide them with a play kit.
Yeah.
But that's not enough. If you do not structure the time, if you do not say this is an important topic, we need to deal with it, we need to train people, we need to create the space, we need to equip, it will not happen. It'll be one day a drawing of many helicopters or planes or a dead parent in a drawing or something that depicts that, but the next day the child is left alone. And it's about all our efforts, it's about the attention, but also the preparedness we have to invest in it. So this is not just Lebanon, this is many crisis situations, Iraq, Sudan, children of Gaza, Syria, many places, sadly to say. So I am proud, I'm humbled and touched, but especially very proud that we've been able to do this, and I'm proud of the survivors and everybody at this conference, because we broke a glass ceiling.
Yeah, that was because my next question was.
I'm looking at Dr. Belkis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you what is the most interesting outcome of the conference, but as I hear you say that the conference was already such a statement or such a landmark.
And we heard this from all the experts in the field, so it wasn't us as the organizers, flattering ourselves. It wasn't about that. It was all the experts, the champions, the people working this in organizations or as experts, psychiatrists, psychologists. And you've heard it, and there were many saying it's been a long time coming. We've never had the political support to do this. We know the global epidemic around the world, developed, stable countries, developing and crisis countries. The global epidemic is mental health. This is the number one disease the next 20 years. In crisis situations, it's 1 in 5 people over that statistic that will be affected. So it's not just a matter of kindness, morality, in looking at our own shared human dignity. It's also the smart thing to do. What's groundbreaking about it, that everybody was here. We have a political declaration, we have a framework, and we have commitments by
Okay.
many countries and organizations. So we want to leapfrog. We're not resting. We're taking a little break from this conference and the work done, but we want to travel further and fly higher because it's too important.
Maybe a stupid question, but why is the political support so important in this?
Well, if you just look at any country, including our own, without political support, it will not be a part of policy, it will not be budgeted, it will not be included in areas of activity. You need it. It's not an act of charity, it's an act of socio-economic investment, and it's a principled regard for what is an essential human right. Health, including mental health, is a matter of human rights.
Yeah. And since you said you were, in your own words, obsessed with this, you've
Make myself now sound as
no, but like it's very important
it's
for
been
you.
with me for a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, it's very important to you. You have also, I think, thought about solutions, maybe heard solutions, also in regard to the stigma part. Did you hear something that you thought like, okay, this is also maybe a method in which we can break the stigma on?
I think it depends on every country and culture and community within, because often within countries, of course, there are different practices, traditions. And this is where behavior change is very important. But if champions, individuals, people of status in a community speak to certain issues, we've seen this with female genital cutting, you can see it with child marriage, when people that are held in high regard dare to speak out and say, I'm giving this my time, or speak to themselves. For instance, I have had members of my family that have suffered depression. This validates others. It creates the safety net that people need. And then, of course, you need to come with practical support. You need to have the organizations, you need to have capacity, but you can also work, and the conference showed that, with many creative solutions, using technology, simple tools, in school, outside of school, for adolescents. What I was also struck by at the conference is the tremendous creativity. It wasn't just art therapy or using music. It was the creativity of the survivors saying, this worked for me. I'm going to share this with others. So if anybody still remembers the movie Play It Forward, about the young boy who basically wanted people to forward acts of kindness, this was a conference basically on a global scale that is playing it forward. And it's a big message, not only about ourselves, who we want to be, but what we also wish for others and what we need to do, I would say, towards another, but also for our own humanity. You can't be whole if the other is suffering.
Yeah. Last question. You say like we're coming down a little bit from the conference, but we're not resting. What's on your agenda? Like, say, okay, this is the first thing I'm gonna work on, move on, push forward.
On this one, but I have a bit of a wide agenda.
I know, I know. No, on this one, this one.
Well, I'm going to say something very boring. First, honestly, we all need to rest a little bit, because this was an immense, I think, also emotional investment by the entire team that worked on it. Myself, we had prioritized this. Hello, Joe Malou from Lebanon, I see you. We had invested in this and staked a lot of political capital, my own name and reputation and network of all on this to make this happen. And there were many doubters. Okay. Equally so, now that we've reached this, we want to be very diligent, very discerning, and smart about how we move forward, because I will not let this momentum die here. We need to connect to big conferences, we need to leverage the investments needed, and we are investing from the Netherlands in pilot projects. We have just signed with the World Health Organization basically a contract so they can finalize what are parameters to make sure that access to mental and psychosocial health will be part of a basic package of care in all crisis and humanitarian settings. This didn't exist before. From there, we move to country situations and we try to reap. But I want to mobilize, so next year it'll be in the General Assembly, so we go for liftoff global political commitments that allows all the heroes and heroines, the survivors, to find their space, work, and in countries where reconciliation is on the agenda, or reconstruction or rehabilitation, investing in this important matter is part of social cohesion. Yeah. So it's a long journey, an important one, but it's also a telling tale, and I know you're in a hurry. It's a telling tale
take your time.
when it comes also to Western societies, because I come back to the WHO report that 1 in 4 persons in today's world will face at one stage in their lives a mental disorder, dealing with depression, etc., etc. So we need to deal and embrace these matters from a matter of collective well-being. But people in crisis, just looking at this picture, the war after the war, are lost, left to their own devices, have lost their dignity, and restoring your mental well-being is the first part of finding yourself and your human dignity. And I think that is a duty.
I think it's
Our
very
duty.
clear, very clear. And well, we wish you all the best of luck, and thanks for stating it here in public once and again.
Count on the whole room
You-
here too.
yes.
I hope you're with us.
Yes. Are you? Yeah. Thank you very much. Sigrid Kaag. Yes.